Hello everyone. In this session, we will guide you through the Excel workbook for capturing key employee data, including salary and leave information for the go-live phase. The workbook has multiple sheets, each with a specific purpose. You must fill them out carefully to ensure a smooth system transition. First, we will understand the instruction and list reference sheets. These sheets provide drop-down values, formatting rules, and field-level guidance to help you fill in the other sheets accurately. The first main sheet is salary information, recurring. Here you will enter fixed salary components such as basic salary or gross salary that are paid every month. You will need to provide the employee's details, the component names, the input value type, which is pay value, amount or percentage, and the actual value before any proration. You must make sure that the component names match the names in the component definition template. Next is the salary information, non-recurring sheet. This sheet is for components like overtime, arrears, bonus, and any other one-time payments. For each record, you will enter details like the batch name, component, employee information, input value, and the amount. Overtime entries might also need an effective date, depending on how the system is set up. Lastly, the utilized leave sheet is where you will capture the number of leaves each employee has taken before the go-live cutoff date. You will need to specify the leave type and the number of days availed. You may also include the effective date. This ensures that accurate leave balances are carried into the new system. We'll begin with the salary information, recurring sheet. This sheet captures the details for salary components that are fixed and are paid to employees on a regular monthly basis. To start, the organization, the employee number, and the employee name must be entered correctly. These must exactly match the employee master data. The employee number has to be unique, and the employee name should be entered as the full name to avoid any discrepancies during validation. The next important field is the salary component name. This refers to fixed components like basic salary or gross salary that are paid consistently on a monthly basis. These components should already be defined in the component definition data template. It is critical that you enter the component names exactly as they are defined in the template to avoid mismatches when you upload the data. Following that, the input type needs to be defined. If a component's value is fixed and paid without change each month, mark the input type as pay value. If the component's value is something that is subject to calculation, such as being prorated based on a joining date or a number of working days, then you will select amount. When a component is calculated based on a percentage, for instance, if responsibility allowance is 10% of the basic salary, you will select percentage as the input type. The value field is where you will enter the actual amount or percentage for the component. Always enter the full or the original amount of the component, not the prorated value. For instance, if an employee joins on the 21st of the month and their basic salary is 25,000 rupees, you must still enter 25,000 rupees. You will not enter the prorated amount, such as 8,333 rupees and 33 paise. For components that are based on a percentage, you just enter the number, like 10 or 20, as applicable. Salary information, non-recurring sheet. This sheet is designed to capture salary components that are not paid every month. These include things like overtime, arrears, bonuses, attendance-based allowances, or trainee allowances. These are all components that are linked to special cases or a performance-based recognition. Start by entering the organization and then assign a batch name. If you have multiple organizations in your data, your entries should be separated by each organization. The batch name is an identifier that helps you to retrieve and review the records later in the system. So, you can use any logical and consistent naming method you want. Next, define the component name. This should be a valid, predefined component already available in the component definition data template. Only those components that are specifically non-recurring and meant to be paid in a particular month should be entered here. For employee identification, you should enter the employee code and the employee name. The employee code must be unique and has to match the employee master template. Since there might be employees with the same name, the code helps in accurate identification. The employee name also must exactly match the full name as it is in the master data. The input value follows the same logic as in the recurring sheet. You should choose pay value for fixed amounts and amount for values that are calculated by the system. For overtime, if the system has predefined rules for calculating it based on the hours worked, then you should select hour worked. If the overtime calculation is done outside of the system and you have a final amount, then you will use pay value instead. The amount field is used to input the final value that will be paid. This must be the complete amount. You should not enter prorated values here. If the input value type is hour worked, you can leave the amount blank, and the system will calculate it for you based on the configuration. Lastly, there is an effective date field. This is only mandatory for overtime components and helps define when the overtime was worked. For all other non-recurring components, this field is optional and does not affect any calculations. Let's go over the utilized leave sheet. Although this sheet is not a direct part of salary data, it plays a very important role during the go-live process. It is used to record how many leaves each employee has taken up to the cutoff date, which is typically the month before the system implementation. This helps in getting accurate leave balances and avoids any confusion later on, especially when you have a lot of employees. In this sheet, the organization and batch name fields are just like the ones in the non-recurring sheet and should be filled in accordingly. The component type refers to the different leave types, such as casual leave, sick leave, or earned leave. These leave types must be the same as the ones you defined in the leave configuration data template. You will again enter the employee code and employee name based on the employee master. The names must be entered in full with no abbreviations or short forms. This is to make sure you have consistency and accuracy. The input value for leave data should always be days. This is because leave counts are generally recorded in a number of days. In the leave count field, you will enter how many leaves the employee has availed up to the cutoff date. For example, if the go-live is scheduled for August 2025, you should provide the number of leaves taken up to July 2025. The effective date can be a summary month, like for June, or it can be provided in a month-by-month format, depending on what data you have and what is more convenient for you. This concludes the explanation of the salary information recurring, the non-recurring, and the utilized leave templates. With this, you will be able to fill in the salary and leave data sheets, which will make sure your organization's transition to the live system is a smooth one and without any errors. Thank you for attending.